This week sees the 150th anniversary of the secession of South Carolina and the beginning of the U.S. Civil War. And of course, the anniversary brings with it the predictable repetition of myths. You know, the ones the South seceded because the northern elites wouldn't let them be. It was all about states' rights and freedom, nothing else. Well, author Edward Ball, who comes from a slave-owning Southern family, reminds us that it's not exactly the case. Simply read the state's secession declarations from Georgia to Mississippi and, yes, South Carolina, and they all name continuing slavery as their top concern. In a recent op-ed, Ball notes that just as the southern states flattered themselves that they were enacting a new American Revolution back then, so too the Tea Party crowd evokes that same revolutionary imagery about state freedom today. It could be funny if it didn't pack such political punch. When Governor Rick Perry wonders aloud whether Texas could secede if it didn't like the laws of Congress, you can count the months before he'll be back for federal help with his ballooning state deficit. But simply laughing at the states' rights advocates isn't smart. Some of the people pushing lawsuits against Obama's health care plan, for example, are now also pushing for a constitutional amendment that would give states the right to overturn federal law. They may get precisely nowhere, but getting anywhere may not be the point. That states' rights, freedom rallying cry has a long and nasty history, and one based more often than not in race. From secession to integration to enforcing wage and labor laws and civil rights, politicians and public figures have trumpeted the idea of states' rights more often than not to keep those pesky liberals from telling them how to treat people of color. And now, once again, the specter of nullification raises its head. And though it's unlikely to pass, it's worth asking whether this has more to do with the color of the skin of the man who passed the bill than any contents of the healthcare legislation itself.